So in the last video, we had discussed about how to create tables. We did it through two methods. First method was where we right click on the tables and then created a new one. And the second one where we clicked on opened a query window and then we wrote a query to create a table. So in this video, what we would be doing is we would be talking about how to insert records. So if you look at it like in shop status table, if I click on view edit data and click on all rows, I see that there's no data here. Now, how do I populate data in this? There are three ways of doing it. One is I directly type in the data in this cell and then save it. Second way is I write a query in the query window, similar to how we created the table. And the third way is to mass upload the data from an Excel file or something like that. So the first method would be like directly writing the query here. So I write it as one and then give it a name. Status, as we discussed earlier, we had two status called active and inactive. So first status is active. I added this. So this is just a view. Remember, this is not yet saved. In order to save this data, I just need to click on the save button here, save data changes, right? And I click on this and the data is saved right now. So if I go back and view all rows, then you see that this entry is already there. Now this covers the first way of adding data to your table. Second way of adding data to your table would be by using a query. The query is nothing but a simple command that you have to write. It is pretty simple out here. What it says is that insert whatever record you want to do, insert into which table. So right now I have to insert record with the shop status table. So I can simply drag and drop it here, or I can even just write shop status. Okay, I can even write shop status. Both way it will work. I'll show you both the ways. Okay, so first thing will for ease, I'll drag and drop. So I'll be inserting data into this table, and what I would be inserting is the columns, and for each column I have to give them the value. So syntax is pretty simple, where I say that in this table, whatever columns I write, in these are the values. Say like status ID, I'll put here, comma, and status name, I'll put here, and I'll tell the value that status ID would be 2 because 1 is already taken, and status name would be inactive. Okay. Now if I do this, I can run this query. Now upon running it, it says that query returned successfully in 289 milliseconds. Now let's see, is the query out there or not? Is the data out there or not? If you remember, earlier we had only one active data, right? Now if I do it again and I see all rows, I see that there are two records. So the second record is what I inserted using the query. Now, one thing about pgadmin here is that you see all these things, right? Similar to a tab that we have in our browser window, pgadmin also gives us tabs. So whenever you click on this, a new tab opens up within which you can write the query. Like in this case, I had written my query in this tab. And whenever I do like this, I right click and run something here. What it does is actually it takes a predefined query and then just runs it. So for that, it opens up its own query window and then runs this predefined query that will be triggered the moment I select this, and then that is shown up here. So that way, I see that two records of data have been inserted. Sorry, second row have been inserted. First one I typed in, second one I inserted using this query, where it is saying that insert into the table named public.shopStatus, where the column status ID will have a value as 2, status name will have a value as inactive. Now let me test it out by writing entirely instead of dragging and dropping. What I can do is insert into shop status. I'll do the same thing. Status underscore ID, comma status underscore name, and I say the values of the same are say 3 comma test. Okay, and I run it. If you see, the spelling is not right, so I will just remove it as shop status. If I run it again, you see it is saying that what does this mean? What do you mean by this? Let me just try it out by writing it like this. Okay, putting two inverted commas in front of it and putting it within quotes. If you see, now it has been inserted successfully. So it is about the quotes. The moment I put the double quotes out here, it takes it as a stable name. Now let me see and run this again and see what is it. Is the third row there or not? You see, third row is there. So this is how you insert, like two methods. First, right click, view all rows and simply type in the data here, or you run a query. There's a third way of doing it. In the third way, what happens is, say I have like 100 rows to insert. So I cannot just type in all the 100 or maybe thousands. I cannot just type in all the thousands. And similarly, I cannot write those 1,000 queries that many times, right? So for one row, I have inserted like this. Second row, I am inserting like this. Third row, I have to insert again and again, right? Insert. So I cannot write all the 1,000. I cannot write it all 1,000 times. It becomes too cumbersome. What I would do instead is I would have an Excel file, say something like this, Excel file, where I have something, I have the field names, which would say like there will be a field called status ID and status name. And I have, say, 100 rows out here, and say I call it as status 1, then status 2, and so on, and I drag it. Excel, if you want to know more about Excel, then we are having another series for Excel. So here I can, if I can simply dump this entire thing into the database, then it will make my life extremely easy. So before we do that, what we need to take care of is that these names of the fields should exactly match the column names out here. That is one aspect. Second aspect is the data types here should match the data types as defined for these against these columns. To be on the safer side, instead of uh, creating a document straight away like this and then uploading it, what we should do is we should actually see what is the format or what are the table names exactly that this system would take. It's pretty simple and easy. I right click on this thing on the table name and I click on this item called import/export. If I click on this, first thing I'll do is I'll just export all the data. Let me, so I'll export it. File name, let me call it as shop status dot csv. Okay, and I say that okay, this is in the format of csv. Do I need headers? Yes, I do need headers. Here what I can do is I can also select a location. Okay, so let me put it in my uh, desktop folder. So user desktop, I'll put it here, and I just put it here and then I give it a name called shopstatus.csv. So this way it will download the file and store it in my desktop. Now let's do that. Now one thing that I wanted to explain here is the headers. What does this mean? If I don't put this, then in the CSV file that I'll be downloading, only the values will come. The field names will not come. But if I make it yes, then the field names will also come. So let me download this first and then I'll show you how it looks. Now the export job has been created. So when you see here, the file has been downloaded and it is in the CSV format. Let me open this up. Here you see that this is the way it has been set up. Okay. Now I can simply upload this file again and these many rows will be created. Before that, let me copy the values that I had created earlier. I'll copy them and paste it here. Before we upload, we have to look at certain things here. First thing is, in the database, if you remember, there are already three rows where the values are 1, 2, and 3. So while uploading, I cannot have any value which is repeating, right? I cannot insert a value whose value is, let's say, 1, 2, or 3. I cannot do that because status ID is the primary key and it is unique in its own aspect. That is first thing that I have to remember. Second thing is, since it is a primary key, I all these values have to be unique. No matter what, they have to be unique. And if we are keeping them as integers, that means whenever we are inserting a value, it should be auto incrementing. So the maximum value that is there in the database is currently 3. So the next value that we have to upload is should start from 4. So I'll just simply remove these rows and I delete them. So this is the data that I can upload right now. So I will save this again. The moment I save it, it will say that, okay, you have to save it as a CSV. So what does CSV mean? It means the values are separated as commas. I'll show you what exactly it means. And I save it as a CSV file. Now if I go back to my desktop and right click here and I open it using a notepad document. Okay, let me see notepad++. Here you see that the first row, the two field names are separated by a comma. Second row, the field and the status ID and the status name are separated by a comma. Third row, 5 comma status 5, and so on. So the values of each row are separated through a comma. So this is what a CSV means. So comma separated values. There's no space, nothing. Now that this is done, let me go back to pgadmin and import it. What I would need to do here is I go to the respective table listed out here, right click on it, and again click on import/export. This time, instead of exporting, I'll import the file. The moment I import the file, it will ask me to select the file. So I'll select this, I go to desktop and I click on this. I have already added data to this value, to this Excel sheet. And then I click on select. It got uploaded, and it will ask, are there headers in it or not? Here, these are the headers. They are there. So headers is yes. And then I click on OK. Sometimes you may face some difficulties while uploading. Under those circumstances, you should try using the encoding as win1250 or 1251, 1252, and so on. So these are, if you do a slight Google search, you'll find out what each one means. But with 1250 and a normal one, it typically works. Let me click on OK and see what happens. Import job created successfully, right? Job created and it is successfully completed. Now let's look at the values in the table. I click on this, view edit data, and I select all rows. And here you see all the statuses have been uploaded. So these are the three ways in which you can upload data to your tables. Thank you.